Everybody, welcome to Build at Home. It's me, Ricky Camilleri, once again, and I'm joined right now by the great, the amazing, the legend at this point, Marc Maron, who's been kind enough to grace me from not the garage, but from some room in his home. It looks like.
No,
What
this
room
is
is this,
it.
Mark?
This
Oh,
is
this
the
is the
garage.
garage.
It is. It doesn't look like a garage because it is
No.
pretty much a room, and I'm starting to put stuff up. But usually I have these panels that I can move around, and I encase this table that I'm sitting at in these sound panels to make the recording space.
I have to say, I love that you're talking to us with a "Gimme Shelter" poster behind you because I feel like Mick Jagger's face at the end of that movie is all of our faces right now.
Yes, yes, I love that
We're all,
poster.
yeah. Is that the actual? That's not the actual face that he makes in the freeze frame, is it?
No, that's from the original promo poster. This
Oh, okay.
this was done by an artist named Frank Kozik for I think it was the reissue of a new print. But it's a silk screen, but you can't really tell from where you are. But in the back screen behind his face is all the people,
Oh,
at the
cool.
concert at Altamont. It's kind of a cool thing. And then on either side of him, I have Chuck Berry and I have Howling Wolf, which I think
Oh,
it
nice.
all makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. Get the history and
Yeah,
perspective there.
right.
Before we get started talking about your special and really everything else, we've been saying this at the top of all of these. If it's important, I just want to say, which is that 336 million children or lunches have been missed due to school closures because of the coronavirus. There is an organization called NoKidHungry.org that people can go to donate and find out how they can sort of help make up some of those school lunches those 336 million school lunches that kids have missed. So if you're interested, please go to nokidhungry.org and check that out. So, Mark, as I said before we even started, I love this special so much. In some ways, it feels like the kind of special. All your specials are great, but like you've been working towards this in some way, or maybe your
Yeah.
personality or dynamic with material has changed. Do you feel like that as well? Does it feel different in terms of?
Yeah, yeah. It feels like it does feel like everything I've been working towards, my entire career, really, on all levels, on the writing level, the sort of stagecraft level, on my emotional and psychological disposition level. It was really the best thing I've ever done. But I can also see all of me in it, and I can
Hmm.
see all of my influences in it, and I can see all of my philosophical and emotional and psychological, intellectual trains of thought that I've been sort of engaged with for 35 years in it, having some closure, kind of landing somewhere.
The riff, the final riff, which I mean, it's probably so embedded in you at this point as someone who loved him, but the final riff at the end where Pence is going down on Jesus Christ reminded me of the sort of classic Bill Hicks riff about
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan, and I don't remember who else is in the bathtub with them.
Yeah, it was definitely from that era of my thinking, the sort of more Hicksy influence one. He was definitely, in my mind when I was constructing that, because I haven't really done that style in a while, but I wanted something big and something over the top and something filthy.
Yeah.
I don't remember that bit as much as I remember, like he used to do metaphorically. The one thing I knew about the special was that he would sort of use going down on Satan as a metaphor for people who sold out.
Right. I
And
remember
when I
that.
started to work on that part of the thing, I realized that I'm doing it literally. Like Mike Pence is. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but
Sure.
it's not a metaphor. And but I definitely, he definitely informed that piece, no doubt.
The going down on Satan and the Bill Hicks thing, that's the one where he's doing the impression of Jay Leno interviewing Joey Lawrence, right? If I remember correctly.
Well, I think he used it a lot. For Jay Leno, I think he used it for Vanilla Ice. Just
Right.
the idea of selling out was, sucking Satan's. Yeah, I mean, there was a time in my life where I think Hicks had a bit of an influence on me, and I knew him a little bit, but I was aware that that piece was sort of an homage to the guy. Like, there was that, you don't see that kind of shit anymore. You don't see that kind of comedy anymore. I used to do that kind of comedy at a different point in my life. So it was like in the tool chest, and it kind of grew. It didn't start out that way. It was a fairly, simple joke that, ended, far before everything. And then, Iron Man got involved. I mean, there was a
Mhm.
lot of things that, all build up through the special to this epiphany, this operatic Rabelaisian closer.
Do you feel like this is kind of apex is not the right word, but because this being your best work, according to you, is because in the past, your influence of Hicks or your engagement with politics was sort of too far embedded in it, and you weren't able to sort of contextualize it in a broader way. Because it seems to me like you did Air America, and then you kind of left politics a little bit, and now you're kind of coming back, but you have a new ability to contextualize it from a sort of distance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I mean, I made a conscious choice when I was younger. Even my politics was sort of it was reactionary. It wasn't really that informed. I was basically a guy who, really had a problem with authority and really had a problem with, anything that wasn't, progressive or at least encouraging some sort of open mindedness, taking risks, that kind of stuff. I just didn't like the control element of right wing thinking and on any level. So once I got involved with Air America, that was sort of an education, and one of the reasons why I got away from it is that when you're doing politics every day, it's like you can't help but carry water for some side. That
Mm-hmm.
most of what's coming out of your mouth eventually is not really your own thoughts. So when I started the podcast, I separated from it entirely. And, after 2016, I started to do it in a sort of, I thought was a pretty broad way, but, definitely from a point of view. And I thought that, to not do it at this time would be, socially and civically irresponsible. So I had to integrate that back in. And I don't think, the nuance that I bring to talking about politics, I'm not that wonky. And I think some of my broader observations leading into that last bit, about Christianity and about capitalism, I think are, they're not new thoughts, but I think that the way I was able to bring them all together sort of lands in a palatable way. And I think my comfort in even that bit, I did not present like Hicks would have. I did not basically defy the audience to take it. I literally um, lubricated them to receive it, and I think that is the difference between a younger me or somebody like Bill or me now is that I knew what I was going to be presenting, and I know that I have an audience. I'm not talking to strangers, and I knew that it was going to be difficult to take, but I wanted them to take it. So a little foreplay helps, and I was aware of that, and I had to evolve the presentation of that bit.
Um, End Times Fun, as you said, does talk a fair amount about Christianity and capitalism, especially in that closing bit. It was recorded and I think written over the course of a year prior to what we're living in right
Couple
now.
years.
Couple years. What is your how are you processing what's happening right now in regards to Christianity and capitalism in this
Well,
country?
I mean, like once you know that these type of thoughts, out there, outside of just nihilism, like I don't want to make this special sound like it's like some sort of, it was. It took a long time to finesse the balance of material in that special in between sort of heady or intellectually abstract ideas and just things that everyone could relate to. But it took me a long time to sort of like pace it so like I know where I'd get the audience to. Like I didn't want it to be depressing or overwhelming in a way that would shut people down. So I had to really balance where I put, like the driving trail mix, what it used to be like that piece. And there's another piece in this stuff about my mom. I really had to sort of go back and forth in between these bigger sort of kind of, overwhelmingly dark ideas and stuff a little more mundane that people could connect with and get some relief from. But how I'm responding now, well, it doesn't get there's just this part of our brain that wants it to be okay and that wants to go to the store and that doesn't believe that we're going to get it. There's just part of the brain that thinks
Mm.
that way. And really the struggle of you know kind of educating that part of the brain or telling it to shut up. In all of us. I mean, I'm not going to go out and say that this isn't serious, but there's definitely part of me that's kind of like, yeah, I just want to go to the store for a second. So getting out of consumerist habits and getting out of the idea that, this is somehow, because I'm not at the hospital every day, something that's not going to affect me, is really, I think, something everybody, I imagine, has to do who aren't sick, or don't have people that are sick, and just kind of understanding that, we all have to have a kind of group empathy around this thing and behave properly to stifle the spread, and also to sort of, kind of really process, the reality of what we're up against over the next couple of months. It's daunting because, like I said, I've gone out for supplies a couple of times, and there's the idea of like, do I have it? Did I have it? I'm with my girlfriend Lynn is here, and we both had a cold a couple of months ago, and then you're kind of like, was that the thing though? Are we, So there's a lot of mystery, there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of I think sadness, and just realizing, how many people are dying and what's happening, and
Yeah.
how the structure of the country, and then the fact that, this administration and the Republicans in general have spent, 30 years, deconstructing the federal government, and now we live in basically a failed state that has to rely on, privatized healthcare, that cannot really assume the responsibility to take care of people in this. So, that, so on that level, in political thinking, the Christians see this as a God's, wrath, or this is what's supposed to happen. And then, like, the more cynical I get, I think, like, well, is Governor DeSantis in Florida, not doing anything because he wants a lot of old people to die, because that's one way to empty the Social Security rolls and ease the Medicare distribution? Could they be that cynical? I don't know. So I go that way too, but with boots on the ground, I'm just trying to, not get spread to other people. I'm trying to distance, and I'm trying to manage the fear and not make my girlfriend crazy. But I'm trying to find this window between the reality of the world and the reality of my life. Like my special, that was not the original title of it. And the fact that it sort of dropped the day of the beginning of the quarantines, was really kind of amazing timing for me, but horrible timing in the world. And I'm just trying to find a window to sort of at least have some gratitude and engage in the life that I've built for myself a bit, knowing that, things might be different for everybody after this, but, also, like, this is the life we're living right now. So you might as well cook some nice food and try to, be there for other people.
I don't think there's any, there's a lot of content being released right now while we're all, I mean, as like this right now, but while we're all at home. And I think there is some kind of guilt from content makers now and then of like, how should I be distracting people? But I will say about your special, even though you talk about being a kind of entertainment distraction yourself within the special, there's a catharsis to it. And it feels very much about right now, whether we would be in coronavirus time or not. It doesn't feel like a distraction. It feels like an engagement and a conversation about this moment that we live in.
Well, I think that's always been what I've done to, bigger, like, to greater, I mean, to greater, what do I want? Lesser, larger success. I've always been that guy. I mean, I don't really look back I never really saw myself as getting into comedy to be an entertainer. I don't know that I ever processed that, like I talked to Bert Kreischer recently, and, I know who I am, and I know, you know, why I'm where I'm at. It's, on a basic level, it's because, like, I'm not everybody's idea of a night out, So, and I never have been. So, but I do carry a punch, and I do have things to say, and I am, deeply funny, and I'm a professional. I just know that, like, come on, I'm not the guy who's going to keep the party light. So,
Is that a realization that you came to later? Like, because if you get into comedy, I imagine it's hard not to think of yourself early on in your career. Like, how do I become that guy that is everybody's night out? Or did you
yeah, I
always
mean,
kind of know?
I've judged myself against those guys, but I always
Yes.
knew, I don't think it was my intention. Like, I saw comics as, guys who, as thinkers, as philosophers, as when I was a kid, a comic could take something overwhelming or something I couldn't understand, or something frightening, or something, you know, just something outside of my ability to really comprehend properly. And they could, kind of make a little 3 line to, a few sentences package, and just blow your mind with it, and make you understand things differently, or make you feel better, relieve fear, stress, pain. It was just this magic trick of language, that I thought was, both philosophical and almost, sage-like. I just, and also they all had very specific personalities. I saw comedy as a way to kind of find myself and figure out what I wanted to say. I knew I had things I wanted to say. I didn't know what they were, and I knew that I wanted to try to figure out who I was and be who I am, and that was the agenda. And I thought comedy, and I still believe this, offers you really the freest stage you can ever ask for. I mean, no one's telling you what to do. It's completely up to you. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You just have to at some point make it funny and figure out how you want to handle it. But it's some real freedom of expression stuff going on up there.
I mean, comedy's even evolved to this point where you don't. It's called comedy, yet some people are on stage and you don't even have to make it funny. It's about storytelling. It's about just keeping the audience wrapped up in the moment.
I guess I don't I still am old school like that.
I
Like,
agree.
I think that the job is making people laugh, and I mean I come from club comedy, and I understand there's a world of storytelling and a world of TED Talks, but I do think that comedy is comedy, and it should stay comedy, and that there are a lot of people claiming to be comics that aren't.
Have you taken any hits on social media for your comment about the homogeneity of free thinkers associated with Joe
With
Rogan?
Joe? Not really. I don't know if it's like, if there's an edict out that they're just going to ignore me, or that we really have totally different fan bases.
Right.
Like, I don't even know if it got back to him. I did, I went on Bert Kreischer's podcast, and that's one of Joe's guys, and Segura is a friend of mine, and Burr tweeted about it. I mean, I'm trying. See, the thing is, I know that most of that special, is right up a lot of those guys' alley, and
Yeah.
it's even up Joe's alley. I think Joe would like it. But no, I haven't gotten any real flack at all. I told the line to Brian Callen, who's one of Joe's guys, and he was like, "Oh man, that's me." So
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe, like for all the shit people give Joe, and I probably give Joe on social media, not that it matters. I do think that he would probably hear that joke and laugh at it and get it.
you would hope.
Yeah.
I have not really heard from any of his people or him, and that's fine. And because and also this thing came down. I'm always kind of half poking at Joe. I like to poke at monsters, and then when they go like, "Rah," I'm like, "Ooh, what's the matter?" So
He's really built himself up to be a monster as well now too, right? He's just like super
always has been.
jacked.
He's always has been. He has his place in the world, and sometimes I can't really judge it. It's a big place, but I think that what I said on the special is clearly and precisely what I think.
I was listening to your interview with Terry Gross this morning, and you were talking about your relationship with your narcissistic father and how it allows you to view or sort of understand Donald Trump a certain way because of his sort of innate, inherent, born narcissism. And I'm curious, I thought about that in reference to last night after his press conference. A bunch of media critics were saying, wow, he's really changed his tone. He's really understanding this now. And I'm wondering what you think about that when you think about your relationship to narcissism and what that means when a narcissist seems to have become sympathetic or empathetic all of a sudden.
I think it's all still relative to him. I mean, like, whatever he's processing, it's like, it's how does Donald Trump survive?
Right.
Like, whether he's really reading this for at the scope it is actually happening. I think it's possible, but he's still, I think his primary focus is, how do I shift to keep this about me?
Mm-hmm. Which he
you,
did.
you know, yeah. Well, I think that's always going to be it. But but all presidents are narcissistic, and there's something about the transparent pathology of this guy that this is sort of unencumbered, completely like it's so clear that he's got the real sickness. Most people who come from narcissists or are narcissistic are just that. But a pathological narcissist is a special breed, and most people don't know many of them. They're relatively rare. They're not unlike sociopaths, and they don't think twice about pathologically lying because it just doesn't factor in. Honesty is not, they'll do whatever they need to do to keep it about them. But what's at the core of it is a very infantile, horrific rage. So, whatever keeps that at bay, even half at bay was probably preferable.
What is your relationship like with news during this? I'm wondering how you keep yourself sane.
Dude, like after the special, like I really feel in a lot of ways I've said my piece.
Mm,
And I think that, the bit about the sky catching fire and the reactions to that on the ground, I think encapsulates sort of what's happening now. I would have hoped that, partisan thinking would have been,
sorry,
yeah.
I
What?
meant like your media diet.
No,
Like
I
you're
know, I
like,
know. I'm
oh,
getting there.
okay.
But like, what I'm saying is that like the way I'm taking in media now is like, what are the protocols that I have to follow to stay safe? What is the truth of what we're going through? And in the rest, I'm kind of browsing through.
Mhm.
I'm looking for information about, my area, the sickness, what's being done about it. I watch Rachel Maddow, and I'll read, I'll browse through news and take in bits and pieces. But I'm really trying to stay in my life and,
Yeah.
and try to keep, uh, try to have some sort of what I believe to be honest, sort of understanding of what's really happening. I don't watch the presidential briefings. I don't. I read a lot of different news. I read some Politico, some Fox, some New York Times, Washington Post. Through the phone, and then I like to watch Rachel, and then I'll watch John Oliver on the Sunday. But I'm really just trying to do the things in my life, not necessarily even preparing that or even thinking that this will end someday or that anything will be normal again. But there's a lot of things undone around the house and things that I don't get to do or think about when I'm busy, and I'm doing that.
Yeah. Um, you said on in this interview with Terry Gross this joke that I very much related to, which is that a few days ago it was cute. We were all posting the records that we were listening to, and now it's starting. And suddenly, it's going to start to get real. And I literally posted like a bunch of records like 4 days ago. Like this
Yeah.
is keeping me sane. And then this morning I was like, I got to go for a walk. I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that still, like, it seems to me that it might have been coming from somewhat of a cynical place, or even being somebody who is a public personality. I'm like, do I have to do this stuff? Like, I'm like, they're doing it. Do I got to get on and do it? Do I have to do? But the thing is weird is that you know a lot of what people criticize us about, like in celebrity culture or public personalities, being self-involved or needy, or who are we to sort of like chime in just because we have followers or fans. But the truth is that no matter what state we're in, like I've been doing IG live a bit, and I'm not preparing anything, and I'm just being doing what I usually do. And I got like 8-10,000 people checking it out, but most of them are like, it's cool, man, it just makes us feel better. Some of us are just hanging out alone. We have a relationship with you. So whatever you're doing, it's nice to see you. So I think that element of it is nice. The performative element of it I think will get a little tiring. But I think that people checking in whatever form they're in, I'm kind of looking forward to that. It'll be nice when big stars start just be like, I need help. I'm
Yeah.
I'm in trouble over here. But
I
because
think people will like that, and they like what you're
yeah,
doing. It's the difference between like checking in with your phone and being like, let's just talk for a minute, and like professionally photographed or videoed
right.
pieces from your mansion somewhere
Yeah.
in like a bubble bath with flowers or whatever, you know.
I was trying guitar pedals out for an hour on Instagram last night.
Oh, that's amazing. Um, I have to let you go, but I'm wondering, like, what you are listening to, what you've watched, what you've read that has sort of kept you happy and feeling good.
Oddly, the books that I've pulled out of the shelf are like a William Burroughs novel from the 80s called The Western Lands and
Huh.
Hunter Thompson's Generation of Swine. Those are the
Yeah.
two books I've pulled off the shelf that I have on my bedstand. I've been listening to. I had a moment where I thought I was going to start listening to The Cure for the first time in my life, but that but that didn't hasn't really stuck.
Did you
Um,
try?
well, I have the Boys Don't Cry compilation, but then I tried Disintegration, which is
Yeah.
a Cure record, and I didn't quite lock in. The early stuff, the poppy stuff, I kind of get, but
Huh.
like I guess I gotta ease into uh, the the Disintegration stuff.
Disintegration's my.
That's yours.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
I'll work on it. I tried to listen to it when I was running,
Hmm.
but then I switched to Junoon. This is weird. Johnny
Oh yeah.
Gateway produced album. You know that thing?
Oh, yeah. The one
Junoon?
that PTA did the documentary of,
Oh,
right?
did he? Oh, that
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
right.
The
It's
Johnny
like an
Greenwood.
Israeli guy and a bunch of Indian musicians and
Yeah,
yeah.
they opened for Radiohead on the last tour that I
Oh,
saw.
yeah. I listened to
Yeah,
that yesterday.
the
That's a
best.
great record.
Yeah.
And I listened to some Patsy Cline the other day. I have a fairly extensive record collection, so I'm kind of doing that. I listened to Aerosmith's Rocks the other day. It's a great album. So I'm doing that, and we're catching, not even catching up, trying to watch new stuff because, I'm dating the filmmaker, and she's been staying with me. So we're doing some movies doing some Criterion Channel watching. Like we watched Antonioni's The Passenger the other night,
Mm.
which is a Jack Nicholson vehicle, but it's a great movie. We watched why do I always forget? A Place in the Sun the other night.
Oh yeah.
Oof, heavy man.
Montgomery Clift, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
Elizabeth Taylor. What a dark story, man.
have you
And
seen? I mean, Clift only had like 4 or 5
yeah,
movies, if that. Like I watched Red River, the Hawks movie with him and John Wayne last month, and Clift is just like so beautiful and
really?
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we watched From Here to Eternity, and that
Ooh.
was great.
Yeah.
I'll watch the Western.
Yeah.
That was like one of his. Was that a last one? Was he in Giant as well? I can't remember.
No,
James Dean
Giants.
was in
Dean.
Giant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Clift is in Giant either. I don't know.
But was okay. But so we watched that, and we were watching Better Call Saul,
Hmm.
and I could not watch the tiger guy.
Why not? Did you try?
I gave it about an hour, and it was just too sad for me to deal with those people. It just seemed like with that. I just didn't like. There's I don't know. It just felt like it made me feel filthy. So
I feel like that's a generational difference for some reason, and this is a broad generalization and a probably idiotic theory, but like younger people are sort of more inundated with like Vice magazine, Harmony Korine culture, and can kind of like distance themselves from these kind of from these types of people and view them more as characters and sort of under like dirty poets of American
yeah.
subculture. And I think lots of older people that I talk to that watch it, they're just like, I can't look at that. It's disgusting. It's heartbreaking. And they're just like mean spirited, angry, poor people.
Broken people. Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah,
I get it, and I get Harmony. I know. I mean, I can certainly appreciate that stuff if there's, if the context can hold. Maybe it gets better, but like, and it's probably fun. I just don't. I don't want to spend that many hours with those people.
exactly. Yeah. Mark, it's always a pleasure talking to you. End Times Fun is on Netflix right now. It is I think a absolutely wonderful special. I watched it twice. It made me feel better both prior to, or I guess right when this was starting, and even in the midst of the quarantine last night. It made me feel a lot better. So
Oh,
thank
good.
you.
You're welcome. It's always good talking to you too, man. And take care of yourself.
Thanks. Are you posting WTFs during this, or do you have new ones coming?
Yeah, we do. Like we've I've got like I got alcohol spray, I got hand sanitizer. Like I've made like if people want to come and do it, I can go one-on-one. We've got 6 feet here, and I'm willing to do that. We've had a couple of brave souls, but we've also got a few in the can. But yeah,
Cool.
every same Monday and Thursdays. I've had Jeff Dunham came in right under the wire, right as it started, and had Taylor Tomlinson come in. These haven't posted yet. And who else? Oh, Whit Thomas, who came over.
Wait, I know I have to let you go, but out of genuine curiosity, like Jeff Dunham, how did I mean? Did you? I haven't listened to it yet, but did you guys get into it at all in terms of his specific kind of puppets that he has?
Sure. Oh yeah. No, I didn't. I haven't posted it yet, but it was great because like I had to find that part of myself. There's nobody really that doesn't. It's like those puppets. I mean, the weird thing is like everyone as a kid. I was into ventriloquism when I was a kid. I bought a doll, so like I had to go back to that place that was fascinated with it to sort of engage with him. But we also addressed the fact that I was one of the comics that was like, dude, look at this guy with his dumb puppets. There were definitely two camps, and he took a lot of shit from, regular real, the real comics. But no, I was really able to talk about the craft with him and the conception of the puppets and some of the controversy around the puppets, how the puppets are made, how did it start? Oh yeah, we got into it. He's a good guy.
Cool. I can't wait to listen to it, and I can't wait for the next special and to have you back when you come back. Mark,
thanks.
Great
buddy.
to talk to you. Good to see you.
Talking to you, man.
Stay healthy. Stay safe.
You too.